Hello and welcome. My name is Natty Cash, and today we are here to do a daunting task. You may have seen on the internet people doing imperialism descriptions about the United States, whether it's NFL, NCAA football, but I am taking on the ultimate test. The ultimate test to see who is the best NCAA basketball program in the country. If you look at this map, you might recognize the many different NCAA basketball programs within the first division, and there are over 300 in here. Some of them are going to have lots of space to start with, like Montana here. Others, right, have to be crammed into small little places like LA or other places that are along here. For example, Philadelphia, Washington. Okay, if you don't know what an imperialism save is, well, I'm here to show you. Here I've got a spinner, and it's got all 362 college programs that are on here. So what I will do, I will spin this wheel, and I will spin this arrow. Then I go back and I'll look at this map. I'll find a program. That program, depending on what direction the arrow is pointing, will take on that team. I will use this NCAA game sim program to simulate each of those games, and if that team wins, they'll take over that territory. If they lose, their territory will get taken over by the opponent. And we'll keep doing that one by one until we have one team that has taken over all of America. So, with that in mind, I know it's a daunting task. Let's get ourselves started. And here we go. Let's go with the first spin. The first team here we are going to start with is the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. They seem to start here in the on the East Coast here with a few different possibilities of neighbors. I think probably the one you'd want to avoid is Villanova. Well, let's take a look. We will spin the arrow, see what direction Delaware is going to take them on. And we're going to go to the northwest. If we take a look at the map here, northwest, that means they're going to take on Bucknell. So just how you see that this program works, okay, anytime that I spin a team, that's going to become the away team. So that will become Delaware, and the home team will become the team that is being attacked, which in this case is Bucknell. Okay, I'm going to put on the play-by-play. See, if you want to watch player stats, you can, but play-by-play, I think will give us a good idea here. So what will we see? If you look at this, wow, what a close score. Bucknell ends up taking it by 1 point, 72 to 71. See that Bucknell was leading for most of the time here, but Delaware was able to bring it right back and actually get about a 6 or 7 point lead before squandering it, and Bucknell ends up being the winner. So look at that. So Bucknell will take over all of Delaware's territory. And just like that, the Delaware Blue Hens are coming off the map. I'm going to try to maintain as much of the state borders as I can. I know I'm going to end up coloring through some of the counties here, but at least we'll keep the state borders. So we can see Bucknell here has now taken over this land, but has also then hit the East Coast already by taking parts of Delaware, New Jersey, and Maryland. But the bigger that you get, the better chance you're going to now get attacked by other players in the future, or other players in the future. So slowly but surely, we will be eliminating teams one by one. The next one here, UC Riverside Highlanders. So UC Riverside's got a lot of different opponents here. Could get a good break, but facing a team like UCLA might be a tough matchup. So we'll see what the arrow tells us. And here to spin the arrow, what direction are we going? Oh, it does look like north and west, which, if I take a look at that north and west, I think I'm going to allow that to be the Roadrunners right here. So a California matchup where you have UC Riverside trying to conquer CS Bakersfield. Let's see what we get as a result. It looks like the Bakersfield Roadrunners had enough about them. They kind of got a lead earlier. They did. Oh, sorry, that's Bakersfield went down early, but eventually worked their way back and never gave up the lead in the second half of the game, giving Bakersfield some expanded space on the map. So CSU Bakersfield gets a big part of the map here and starting to become one of the bigger land masses that we have in California. Let's look at the next matchup. Here we go, next one. This is going to take a while, but we're going to keep things rolling here. Virginia Cavaliers. Now this will be an interesting one for sure. If we look at the Cavaliers here, you see that there's a lot of different possibilities that we have here. So let's go take a look at the arrow. What direction are we going? We're going southeast. Southeast looks like it's going to be against Richmond. And as expected, Virginia ran away with it. Even though there was some tight action at the beginning of the game, Virginia ended up pulling away pretty substantially and beating Richmond pretty handily. I do anticipate that Virginia could do very well in a format like this. And just like that, Virginia has taken over this more land here. And again, based on the neighbors that Virginia has, they could do very well by capturing a lot of these places if they get a chance to move. We'll have to see if they get picked again or what the chances are going to be of that. So once again, we need to spin the wheel. Let's see what we get now. And we're going to Idaho with the Vandals. This is one matchup that no matter who they play, there's going to be a lot of land that's going to be given up here in this case. So what direction are they going in? They're going southeast. That means they are taking on Boise State. Oh boy, either Boise State's going to get bigger or the Vandals are going to be one of the bigger pieces of land going on here. And even though it was kept close throughout the game, it is the Boise State Broncos that do come out ahead in the end. Idaho did have the lead for most of the game, but the Broncos went on a run late, beat them 78-67. That just means the big blue Broncos is going to keep getting bigger. And just like that, Boise State gets even bigger, taking up most of Idaho at this point now. Okay, let's keep it going. We've got many more to do. And next we are going to Bethune-Cookman. I had to look up again, reminding myself where Bethune-Cookman is, but it is on the Florida coast. And really, it's only going to have 3 options to play. If it gets pointed out straight into the ocean, we'll do a respin. But yeah, let's take a look. We got a spin here. That looks like going southwest. I think we're going to say that that's going to be hitting Stetson here. So we're going to have Stetson trying to defend against Bethune-Cookman. And looks like Stetson defend their territory pretty well. There's never a point where they were losing in this game and eventually beat Bethune-Cookman by score 77-63. Even though it isn't a lot, it still means that Stetson is on the board and they take a little bit of land with them. Let's see who's next up. Ooh, the Michigan Wolverines. I do have to apologize because I had to create this little space for Eastern Michigan, but there are a few options that Michigan has to fight with. So what direction are they going to go in? Looks like they're going west, which I believe pits them up against their interstate rivals, Michigan State. Ooh, this is a good matchup in the first round. It's going to be tough to see either of them go in this first round. But it does seem like Michigan is the stronger program, taking the lead relatively early and never looking back, almost winning by 20 points. So Michigan gets to expand. Michigan State, I'm sorry that you're done so early, but better luck next time. And just like that, the middle part of Michigan here is now in Wolverines yellow. So uh, they have a good chance of doing lots of damage in this area. So once again, we need a spin and see who we're going to see next. It looks like Lindenwood Lions. Here's Lindenwood. Okay, and we've got probably four main options here. Don't think the arrow's really going to point down this direction, but you got some big basketball teams like Missouri, maybe St. Louis, okay, or we'll see. This might be anyone's game here. So spinning the arrow, we get southeast. Pardon me, that was southwest. And from the logo here, southwest is going to hit. Well, you know what? That's a good question. That's actually really close. On further review, though, I think it still will end up hitting Missouri. So we're going to have Lindenwood attack the Missouri Tigers. And unfortunately for Lindenwood, and I'm sorry that the image doesn't show up here, but Missouri was just too much for them and beat them pretty handily in the end. And just like that, Missouri has taken a fair bit of land and extended their reach into a little bit of Illinois as well. Let's check the next name on our board here. We've got Stephen F. Austin, the Lumberjacks. Looks like they have a fair few options that they could end up running into here. And which direction are they going in? Looks like mostly west, but a little bit north, which I think points us to SMU this time. And I don't know if this is an upset, but it feels like an upset to me with Stephen F. Austin beating SMU by 10. It wasn't even a case where there was even well, it wasn't even a battle, right? By the time that it got to the second half of the game, SFA just took on over. And it looks like here that Texas has gotten a lot more purple. That's, I think, one of the surprises so far. Well, we keep things moving here. Let's get to the next one. And, oh, we're going to Massachusetts with the Riverhawks. And we're spinning to see what direction they're going to go. They're going north, a little northeast. And that means they're going to go play University of New Hampshire. And this is a chance for them, if they win, to get a lot of land. And just like that, UMass is going to expand pretty significantly, UMass Lowell, as they go out and beat pretty handily 71-59 the North Hampshire Wildcats, or New Hampshire Wildcats. And just like that, we see UMass Lowell getting so much bigger as they've expanded greatly into New Hampshire and even got into Maine at this point. That's a huge win for them. It's crazy to think that we are nowhere near finishing yet, but we are making strides as we go then to North Carolina to see the North Carolina Central Eagles, as they will end up spinning to and going straight north, as that takes them straight north across the border to face the Longwood Lancers. And it is North Carolina Central that gets the win, pulling away in the second half and never looking back. And just like that, they've extended their reach into Virginia pretty substantially and give themselves a heck of a bigger border now. But let's keep this spinner going and see how many we can get done in this video. So we're going now to northern Kentucky as they plan to travel in a south direction, which must be a matchup with Kentucky, probably one of the stronger groups in this area. And as expected, Kentucky dominates, making quick work of the Northern Kentucky Norse. And just like that, the Kentucky Wildcats have pushed their way to the northern border of Kentucky, getting a little bit into Indiana and into Ohio now. But we keep going on, going one at a time here until we eventually narrow everything down. South Alabama Jaguars, as they are going to end up traveling in a northeast direction, where it looks like they're going to end up facing Alabama State Hornets. And it looks like Southern Alabama or South Alabama makes quick work of the Hornets, end up winning by 20 points. And just like that, South Alabama has stretched their land a little bit more into the heart of Alabama. But we keep going. We're going to be going around this for a long while yet. And what we've got here is Illinois State, as they are going to end up traveling in a westerly direction to face off against Bradley. And this time it is Bradley that comes out on top. This one was actually a relatively close game, and then Bradley pulled away, and Illinois State could never recover from that. So Bradley ends up taking over of Illinois State's land. And just like that, Bradley takes over the land and has probably the largest amount of land that's just in Illinois. And we go back again to the spinner to see who we have next. And it looks like we're going to get to Eastern Washington, as Eastern Washington is going to try to go further east and run into Gonzaga. That is probably not the direction they wanted to go in right away. And it proved to be a tough battle, as Gonzaga, for the most part, actually was pretty close, and Eastern Washington went kind of back and forth, tied things up, but Gonzaga at the end had enough to put them over the edge and win by an 11-point margin. And Gonzaga looks to have claimed a fair bit of land and become one of the dominant land masses that we see in the Pacific Northwest. But we keep going, one by one, we keep going. Where are taken now? We are taken to the great state of Utah, where the Utes are going to end up traveling in a westerly direction, which is really tough because they actually are going a little bit south, which I feel like actually hits this piece of land, which belongs to southern Utah, which proves to be a pretty good shot for the Utah Utes, as even though it was a close game throughout, they were to pull ahead and have a 7-point win over the Thunderbirds. And just like that, we've created the first weird set of borders here as Utah kind of wraps into Nevada and then back down to the southern part of Utah. But it does really give Utah, the Utes, an opportunity to be the dominant force in Utah at this point. We will try to do a couple more here before the video is done. And this time we are headed to South Dakota. And they're going to head in any direction. And any direction at this point is going to end up creating a big opportunity to collect a lot of land, which I believe that ends up being against Wyoming, which might create one of the largest groups together once those two are connected. And this matchup was never in doubt by Wyoming, as they led throughout the whole game and won by a big margin of 25 points. And now, Wyoming not only took a big chunk of land, but is the first team to have land in 6 different states, with Wyoming, Colorado, a little bit of Montana, and now North, South Dakota, and all the way into Iowa. And with that, I'm going to leave it here. Note, yeah, there's not going to be lots of change that happens at the beginning here, but you see in the West, people like Boise State, Wyoming, gaining some space, maybe a little bit of Missouri, a little bit of South Alabama here. But some of the smaller states, it's going to take a while before we can start seeing them. But even teams like UMass Lowell making a difference in New England is going to show up eventually. So thank you for watching. Please like the video if you want to see more. And hopefully part 2 will come out soon. Thanks.